The absurdity continues as we continue to move forward here. Absurdity in a good way. Don't forget, we have Jari's Theater of the Absurd. It's not Jari, but he kind of maybe pioneered it. I think it was Anthony Artaud, however you say it. Anyways, welcome back, Artist Journal, November 25th, 2024, broadcasting from Bologna, Italy, where there are the most spectacular Black Friday sales you will ever see. I am so excited. I have been shopping like a madman. I didn't expect it. I was here to kind of learn about genealogy, and I've just been shopping. I have learned certain things, interestingly, in Rome. I have found my old great-grandfather's journal, courtesy of a cousin, and it was always kind of illegible. The writing was so, that 1890s, like writing way back then was very, it's hard to read. To put it simply, and we couldn't even barely read it. It was in Italian, of course. But ChatGPT, you take a photo with the new ChatGPT, and the old ChatGPT didn't do a great job, but the new ChatGPT, you take a photo, ask it to translate, and all of a sudden, the general poet, get that, a general, but wow, the poet general, Gustavo Pocobelli, great-grandfather. So fascinating. A window. It's a fascinating subject matter. So anyways, let us begin here. But I think I'll come here every year for Bologna Black Friday. Finally, just to give you a clue, you can buy, so a suit that was regular 700 euros, in a beautiful, like, Italian, clothing shop where everything looks good from the window. And I saw a nice kind of trench coat. I almost want to go and get it here. Nice kind of beige trench coat, the kind you'd find in like London sort of thing. And so I walk in for that, and then I'm being shown suits. They're upselling you, but they're doing it so well that you're just happy to be upsold because you're like, this looks beautiful. Got a full suit, normally 700, already down to 400, and then for Black Friday it was 200. So I felt like this is spectacular. So I have to go quickly here in order to get to the tailors, actually, today to start just adjusting whatever needs to be adjusted. But I am just having a ton of fun over here. Bologna. It continues. So just final show note here. There will be a show. I'm hoping. It's always hoping. I'm hoping before I leave here on Thursday morning. I believe I leave here on Thursday morning back to Rome to drop off all these clothes hilariously. And then it might be another week or so before the next show. Let's begin. So Hasdrubal Waffle, as many of you know, I think this is under Cedar Plank. It is. So AKA Cedar Plank, also known as, and just kind of a fun one to start the show. And I was commenting last episode on kind of the chaos of Waffles' works, and big shout out to Waffles. I mentioned maybe bringing Waffles on for the space, and it sounds like Waffles is receptive, so I will reach out. I'm very excited about that. I haven't reached out to anybody for this week yet, but I need to get Canik Zapata and everything. So anyways, I think there will be a space. I will reach out to people today. It is always a war against the clock, so to speak here. So Endomega is the name of this work here. And as you see, actually, I think I brought it big. So what is the first reference? I mean, it seems like this is the alpha, right? Alpha and omega. Interestingly, you'll often find the alpha and omega signs on Italian paintings. I mean, occasionally, where you'll actually see the Greek alpha on one side and then the omega on the other. In a sense, the arche and the origin and the kind of the final destination. What, I can't even remember. Is it arche and omega? I'm not sure. But the alpha and omega, Greek letters, but you'll often find it in Christian painting where it's kind of like the beginning and the end, right? And so here, kind of a different feel. Kind of looks like the alpha dude in the center of this painting with the with the birthday cake, interestingly placed here. And once again, and I actually brought this up on a version we can zoom in on here. Interestingly, as we've noticed before with Waffles' work, I mean, The anatomy is surprisingly good, to be super blunt about it. Especially here. I mean, this is quite well done considering it looks like someone's just kind of quickly moving. And I think Waffles mentioned, I can't remember if it was an anatomy class or used to copy, I think took an anatomy class at one point or was copying out of anatomy books. Kind of a classic tradition. I mean, put it this way. If you're 16 years old and you're watching this, that's probably the smartest thing you could do, is get an anatomy textbook and just start copying. Just start getting to know everything, because you got the time when you're 16, 17 years old. You got the neurons that are just like aching to grow. Get familiar, in a sense, create those, those brain trees, I almost want to say, those neural roots, so to speak, that we were discussing last episode. I mean, it's kind of interesting. I don't want to go too long here because I have quite a bit to do today. But our discussion that we were having last episode on this whole idea of consciousness being a product, in a sense, of neurons kind of making new connections and associations and kind of growing out a bit, however that happens. What do they call it? In where the brain is, there's a word for it, which means that it's like something morphic, that the brain itself is not a static thing. It's something that, you can train. This is why they say as you get older, it's good to learn languages. Maybe chess is a good idea. Why is that? And I think as we start to kind of piece together a model, so to speak, is when you're doing these kind of things, you're making new connections. And it's kind of hard work the first time you make that connection, and you don't necessarily enjoy it, in a sense. But then once it's familiar territory and you've been through it a few times, then it's more familiar territory, so to speak. And so finally on this whole topic, because I don't want to forget, and this is a journal of sorts, it got me wondering, are all kind of areas of knowledge simply this kind of flowering, or this, this tree outing, or these roots, the branching out of these stems in certain areas? So if you're learning a language, all of a sudden you're growing all these branches out, right? And then leaves are even popping up. Maybe you get, there's another word for this, of things that happen. It's that Alfred North Whitehead word. Anyways, I'm going all over the place here. Forgive me. But all to say, I'm finding this interesting, as well as aesthetic canons, or aesthetic, appreciation of certain aesthetics, where I was kind of commenting on the commenter last episode who was kind of very skeptical of the art we were looking at here. And I was basically saying, well, maybe it's just that the branches haven't come out yet, and the more you familiarize with it, the more the branches of the brain, so to speak, the neurons will connect, and the more familiar it'll be, and the more comfortable, in a sense, enjoyable it will become, because all of a sudden it's not the hard work of making the neurons connect. It's more, you've already made the path, you've done the hard work, and now you can kind of enjoy the fruits of the labor if there's something to be there. If there's something there, in a sense, you've created the path, and now you can reflect on that path as you walk down it. Maybe. Who knows? Anyways, let's get back to Waffles here. So as you see here, is that a mushroom? That looks kind of like a mushroom. Hard to say. Maybe it is Thor's hammer here with the lightning also coming out of it. Look at that. That kind of adds a whole other dimension. So zooming in, as you see here, Waffles is up to quite a bit here. And you're seeing different softwares being pasted in. And I think I saw Waffles put out a tweet saying the struggle he was having of trying to get different speeds of GIF into one picture plane, so to speak, because of course GIFs are a bunch of frames, right? That's how you get the animation. It's one frame after another. It's basically light animation. It is animation. But if you're trying to do that at different speeds, all of a sudden it's almost like music. You're playing third notes, and if you're trying to get it at different rhythms. So one wonders if that's part of what was going on here. You see some divers, a couple of divers that are repeated. You see what looks like a Zeppelin. Who knows? Maybe an underwater device. And here, more underwater imagery as you see the fish. And here, this, kind of a different, again, I want to call it, for lack of a better term, different visual modality here, for lack of a better term here, as we see this, what looks like an icon of a computer, right? Just kind of pasted on top. And then here, for shock contrast, or just for the hell of it, we have a skateboarder on top of the computer. So here we have very 3D on top of very 2D with a background that is really, what is this? Again, I was referring to it as a kind of chaos here. It's hard to say what this is, but for me, it feels like this digital, a digital tableau, perhaps. And also you see, maybe a stamp here. With the clown face and then but bigger faces, the chaos but there is still a focal point here, which is to a certain degree this muscular figure in the middle here with what looks like Thor's hammer or a mushroom with lightning going through it. And Alpha and Omega. Interesting title. Perhaps, there is that finally here, there is that famous book. What was it called? Where the speculation, I actually read that book, where God is a mushroom. Do you remember? I'm sure a lot of you know that. God is a Mushroom book. Welcome to the show for all new viewers here. The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross. Of course, I actually have read this. John Allegro. It was on Terence McKenna's. I would talk about this book every so often. So, yeah, it kind of evokes that because I think something to do with the rain and the fertility and everything. So who knows what that even is? Maybe it's not even a mushroom. But lots to just chew on here. A great, just a fun way to start the show. And so Hasdrubal Waffle, aka Cedar Plank. Let's just see what happened in the market here. Edition of 5. And Tempert offering 81 Tezos, which is $100. And again, this is an edition of 5, transferring one to Little Cake. So the anarchy continues in the market. Transfers one to Islay, and Neon Monk, who has been buying a ton of Waffles works, sends one over. So the generosity of Waffles continues, and the unique selling style really kind of putting the fun first, as it seems. So thank you everybody for the support. Let's look at the comments here. Welcome back, Mr. Pocobelli. Thank you, Omizu. Eco Textile. Hi, Adrian. Beautiful artworks once more. Thanks for the show. You are more than welcome. Rada Yonki. Yes, sir. Video games matters because nostalgia matters. It's an interesting question, isn't it? Because I've been having this discussion. What was it on? Where was I talking about old computer games? I was having a discussion with someone. I'm thinking like in 2012 in Paris when I was visiting there for the first time, I think, at an Airbnb and with the guy. And I remember, and I was talking about old Lego boxes and how I thought there was something kind of precious. And as I like to call, a lot of the design, especially from the 80s, you think of the Star Wars action figure boxes. You even think of board games. You can think of stamps to a certain degree. An unrecognized canon, so to speak, of art exists in design. Video games, especially 1980s video games. And my friend was saying, as he read my essay on what is it that makes, I think, 80s space Lego so much better than modern Lego. I had a better title for it. And he was like, it's just nostalgia. As I wrap up my point here, I think it was Benoit. Benoit was saying, but it's just nostalgia. And so when Rada says video games matters because nostalgia matters, to me it evokes a whole big discussion of where does nostalgia stop and kind of beauty and kind of art begin? And how much are they overlapping? Or is there kind of a dividing line where we can say, Over here, this is nostalgia. Over here, this is art. Do we have in the history of art, do we have kind of examples of nostalgia? I think we do. When you have these kind of pastoral kind of works to a certain degree. I mean, are the pre-Raphaelites, just to open the question, is that kind of like as the world is getting industrial? And then they put like these kind of pastoral, beautiful scenes. There's Ophelia, in the water and, referencing Shakespeare. Is that kind of a nostalgia of sorts? I suspect it is. So we probably haven't had nostalgia for a while. It seems like kind of a classic human thing. And once again, and we have it in art. Interestingly, I'd argue, perhaps, in the pre-Raphaelites. So anyways, it just brings up an interesting discussion. Thank you for the comment, Rada. Awesome to hear from you. Also, thank you for the massive support here. 14,000 views, a ton of retweets, and bookmarks here. Thank you all for the support on X. A very exciting platform. I see people like with their, I just made $6,000 on X just for posting. I was like, maybe I need to post more. Because I think I did the math, right? It's like, how much do you need? I think 5 million views in 3 months in order to get paid on X. And so I did the math. 5 million divided by 90 days. And I think it's 55,000, impressions. Whatever, I think that's a view. I think it's 55,000 of these per day for 3 months. So no kind of mean feat, no small task, but if you start posting 10 times a day and everything, maybe you start getting checks, and maybe it's just incentive to post interesting content, and maybe you post interesting content, it actually gets a lot of traction. So just thoughts in the back of my mind here. So 369, finally back, the show must go on. Indeed. I woke up very early to make that show happen. Cedar Plank. Thanks, Poco, and congratulations on your auction. Happy to chat anytime, so this is thrilling. So I will reach out to Cedar Plank for a show in the next 2 or 3 weeks. As I continue to travel, it's a little tricky, but I can't wait, and that's thrilling news. Thank you, Cedar Plank, Hasdrubal Waffle. Pederal, great to have you back. Thanks for purchasing some of my work. Lovely surprise to find out via watching the show. And this was a super interesting work. You may recall, remember the Nintendo Glitch ROM? It was almost like it was selected, a certain area, and then it was edited, and then we had like this big kind of canvas. It's fascinating. And to me, and I think I said this at the time, it just shows we are scratching the surface of digital art here. Because, of course, you could do the same thing with Video Glitch. Just take a frame and then make that like a small thing and then use that as a source to do 20 other things. There seems to be, as we see in techno and electronic music, this endless capacity to recycle, which is kind of interesting. Again, this is kind of different from physical, isn't it? I think. Let's continue. Iwa, thank you for the heart. Human Boy, thanks for another great episode. Thank you, HB, for the ongoing support. We have a work by you at the end of this episode, actually, in the AI section. Braindead, welcome back. Thank you. Actually, works by Braindead. Gogolitis, thank you. Now I have something to watch and listen to while I'm pixel arting. This makes me so happy. I think Uxine, I said the same thing just over here. At first, when I started this show, I was concerned that it would distract people from making art, because all of a sudden it's like, if you're putting out 45 minutes and it's like, are people watching videos rather than making art? I mean, I wasn't overly concerned, but I did voice my concern at a certain point. So I'm thrilled that it's actually helping people. It's kind of like putting on music, maybe. So awesome to hear from you, Gogolitis. And Uxine, yo, Poco back, I can finally draw. Stuff. So this is awesome, and we have a really cool, I think, homemade screen print by Uxine this episode. Pedro Jose, welcome back. Thank you. Neon Monk, good to have you back, Adrian. Thanks for the mentions. I tried to keep busy while I missed your regular dose of art enthusiasm. Awesome to hear. Just a wonderful community. So thank you, Neon. Great to hear from you. Blue Alley, it's snowing in Paris, Adrian. 10 centimeters chez moi so far. Have a great show. Yeah, it's even worse. My mom was saying in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, where I will end up in a few weeks, 25 centimeters. 25 centimeters. So that is a huge amount of snow. Rosacho, welcome back. We'll watch in the morning. Awesome. Jan Lucas Magone pushing the start button. Awesome. Neural Divine, nice show. Thank you. Max Bigglehope, thank you for posting. And Sol Lu, welcome back, and thank you for sharing my art. You're welcome. Rada, enjoying the coffee with you. Inherent Liberation, oh, can't wait. Thank you for the comment. And Blue Pastel, proud holder. Awesome. And very quickly through the community here is Zizo. We have passed 700 members. This is wonderful. So Zizo with what looks like a Procreate drawing. Here's Libro Block. This is for the Art for Artists event, a cooperative contract where everyone shares a percentage from every sale. I saw that. I didn't understand, as usual. As usual, I don't understand what's going on. To who? Like, who gets shared to who? To everybody? So I'm sure there's like an answer. I don't know. Do you sign up to get the money? So anyways, but nice. It's pretty cool. A cooperative contract where everyone shares a percentage from every sale. But so interesting. I want to learn more here. Yuran Yakon, the Definitive Artist Typology by Greg Nikshamika, Aesthetician. So this may be a little long for us to go through, but thank you for posting, and looks very interesting. So here's all the different kinds of art types: the dabbler, the traditionalist, the fearmonger. This is actually quite interesting. Ultimate Edition. That is quite interesting, right? I mean, it's something we've discussed here over the last 370 episodes. The role of the artist. We see it in the introduction to Crash. What is the role of the writer? As Ballard says in the introduction to Crash, the writer's role is no longer to invent the fiction, but to create a fiction, but to invent the reality. To quote, invent the reality. In a world of fictions of every kind, the role of the artist is they're here now to figure out what's going on. In a surreal world, they are uniquely able and prepared to actually help us understand the reality. Because why? Because they are experts in fiction and in the imagination, and in a world that's increasingly filled with fictions of every kind. All of a sudden, the artist, the writer, is able to help us contribute in a very provocatively profound way into what is going on. Let's continue. Maybe here's some info here from Heidi Thing. Hey, Poco, just sharing art for artists. 40 of us have created a mutual bread fund using Tezos collab contracts, so everyone gets 1% of all primary and secondary, and the remaining 99% is equally shared. So in lean times, everyone can do this. So does that mean if you sign up, then you get 99? So 40 of us have created a mutual bread fund using Tezos collab contracts, so everyone gets 1% of all primary and secondary, and the remaining 99% is equally shared. So interesting. And I assume anybody could sign up. So interesting. Interesting. Artist Imagination, happy weekend, everyone. Passing by, compressing in progress. Stay tuned. This was interesting. And so 369. Hi, Adrian. Would love to share an idea that combine both on and off chain methods, hybrid approach. The fully on chain isn't just a compression artwork. It's also a certificate of ownership of the original work. For example, collector got the original work, should get the FOC fully on chain certificate too. This can protect the collector, also can protect the artist's work. This can be a challenge to the copy minter. This idea kind of like phygital, I think, NFTs, physical and digital. This is what I have done. Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I mean, my only concern, in a sense, is it might diminish the artistic value, in a sense, of the compressed work. Because I think there's something to be said. I mean, if you're simply doing, okay, I'll do the bitmap version, and you don't put too much of go beyond that, then maybe this makes a ton of sense. But from an artist's point of view, I find weirdly delightful this idea of trying to make small file versions of works or just of art in general. And you could do it also. I mean, I almost kind of love the idea of go find all your... I've thought about this with Bitcoin. I actually have mixes. I just haven't uploaded them. And now here we are at Bitcoin 100,000. But I've actually done this with some of my other artworks where I've made kind of low-res versions that could live on Bitcoin, right? But to me, these, as far as certificates, I think, sure, if that's how someone wants to do it. But for me, it's like, these are artworks. Maybe they're even better than the high-res versions. Maybe they're more exciting because of this weird delight from making things small, right? So interesting point, and I think it just goes to show that you can kind of do, there's so many approaches right now. I think an interesting, put it this way. What I love about this is it gives you an excuse to make a small version of your larger artworks that are maybe 10 megabytes or more. And then, hey, can you make a 3 kilobyte version? And all of a sudden you're making the small version, and all of a sudden you're making a different artwork. I would argue. You could argue it's a mix, but yeah. So anyways, super interesting. Thank you for the comment, 369. Interesting as ever. Suji. Hi, everyone. My physical painting combined and recreated with AI. So again, we're seeing AI is getting increasingly hard to detect, and very sophisticated. So beautiful work there. Thank you, Nahid, with a cool painting. And that was posted on November 22nd. Kind of looks physical. Again, hard to tell. Skull Takes. New no-code easy interface for minting on-chain works on Tezos. Under 20 kilobytes and under. V1 can mint one of ones. V2 can mint additions. So here we go again. I'll have to try how to mint fully on-chain NFTs on the Tezos Zero contract by Justum Zero, no code. So we did see something about this, I think, recently. Thank you for posting. My concern was, especially with Tezos going up in price, was I think it was something like a third of a Tezos per kilobyte, and it was kind of comparable to Bitcoin, maybe like a quarter or a fifth of the cost of Bitcoin. And then I say, well, if I'm going to put it on chain, well, why not Bitcoin? But who knows? In a sense, it's a decision everybody has to make on their own. LibraBlock, thank you for the very beautiful abstract here. These are really going somewhere. Excited for where that's going. Psychofuturist with some very cool works here. So thank you, everybody. Dr. Version, thank you for posting. And I think we have gotten through, we have gotten through the community. So thank you for that. Just a couple of stories kind of held over from the last couple of weeks. Vatican Microsoft create AI-generated St. Peter's Basilica to allow virtual visits, and also, hilariously, to log the damage that is being done to the artwork, I guess. So let's take a quick look here. And there's a concept here that I'm seeing more and more of. The digital twin. The Vatican and Microsoft on Monday unveiled a digital twin of St. Peter's Basilica that uses AI to explore one of the world's most important monuments while helping the Holy See manage visitor flows and identify conservation problems. Using 400,000 high-resolution digital photographs taken with drones, cameras, and lasers over 4 weeks, when no one was in the Basilica, the digital replica is going online alongside 2 new on-site exhibits to provide visitors, real and virtual, with an interactive experience. So this is something we're starting to see more and more across several industries, which is sensors basically recording physical reality and then using that as a data input to give to AI, right? Because as everybody knows, data is kind of like the oil, so to speak, of AI. And so here's just an example of that. And again, the digital twin is kind of where you have to start, I think. And this is just one of many ways of thinking about it, but just kind of interesting. Anyways, let's continue. Quote, "It is literally one of the most technologically advanced and sophisticated projects of its kind that has ever been pursued." End quote. Microsoft's president, Brad Smith, told a Vatican press conference. That's impressive. Finally, it's been launched for the Vatican's 2025 Jubilee, a holy year in which more than 30 million pilgrims are expected to pass through the Basilica's holy door on top of the 50,000 who visit on a normal day. So it's going to get crazy in Rome. My cousin in Rome was saying that basically everybody's getting ready to rent their house out in next year. So everyone really should feel welcome in this great house. So it's going to get crazy in Rome next year. Go while you can. Go this year while you can. You're running out of time. Let's continue. Online marketplace platform is launching an art fair. So this is called Platform. And this actually just happened this weekend. COO Richard Thayer says Chelsea Art Fair which is the name of this fair, will offer an intimate, in-person experience of younger collectors that brings the company's thoughtfully curated online offerings to life. So this is in The Observer. And finally, Platform debuted in May 2021 as a collaborative online showcase of artists. And it's built in partnership with David Zwirner. It was designed to give younger galleries a virtual venue to exhibit their artists while their physical spaces sat idle thanks to COVID. So I brought this up just to give you a taste of it. So a digital platform, and it looks like here to show physical works, as you see, this just new artworks, oil on canvas. And so it's quite interesting, isn't it? It doesn't feel, from a content perspective, my thought was, it feels very trad art. It feels like something you would see in contemporary art galleries, which is, I think, what they're basically designing it for. But it kind of brings back to me a deeper question of content and of, let me pose a question for you to answer, and you can answer it yourself. Is this, what we're looking at here, younger gallerists, maybe younger artists perhaps, is this the art of, of the current generation? Maybe it is. I ask it as an open question. But I think it's an open question. And in a sense, when I see this, and I don't want to start making dividing lines and all this sort of thing, but what I see, and perhaps it is in certain respects, especially you look at this, look at how great that is. And it's not to, but I wonder if this is, and we're painting with a broad brush, there's several different artists here. But I'm kind of back to digital. and the excitement with digital. In a sense, like when I come here, I go, oh, there's some nice works here, kind of interesting. Am I going to load this up every day? I'm not sure. Let's continue. Tezos on a tear. Weirdly, call me a masochist, but I kind of love the low Tezos price. Tezos, now it's getting expensive to buy art again. It's getting like, all of a sudden you're spending $40 on this, digital artwork, and you're like, I'm not sure. It was a lot easier when it was like, 15 Tezos and it cost me 10, or 30 Tezos and it cost me 20. So interesting, but great news for everybody who's collected here over the last, couple of years. Fabulous news for our collections, for the value of our collections, and probably good news for the artists. You're going to make some more money here. One would think. Great to see Tezos up 75% for the week and approaching 26% up for the day. That was November 24th. That was yesterday. I think it went as high as $1.60. And I think we have to ask ourselves, why is Tezos going up? Like, are the other old chains going up? Is it and I think the underlying question to that is it the art? Is it the recognition that, Tezos has a lot of important art from the blockchain? A significant amount of important art on the blockchain is on Tezos. I think that's a undeniable statement here. So is that the reason? That would be quite the, situation if that's the case. Let's continue. Gogolitis. I thought this was interesting. We adore chaos because we love to produce order, and that's MC Escher quoted by Gogolitis, and I think this is quite interesting. In a sense, I would kind of add on, like, we can't help but produce order. That is it's what is understanding, and some people would say it's pattern recognition. And what is pattern recognition? Ultimately, you're saying you see a pattern, you see order, you're imposing, again, we're back to Freud's reality principle. What is, you are rationalizing reality. You are making sense of your external world, right? So now this all in the context of, why do we love chaos? Why do we love randomness? And we do. We do love, I would argue, controlled randomness. Pure randomness is just randomness. But when you have a certain degree of control over that randomness, like we see in a Rauschenberg or you name it, or in a brushstroke, that kind of ordered chaos, and where it works with randomness, I think we love that contrast. So it's just kind of an interesting topic from that Gogolitis is highlighting here, courtesy of MC Escher, or MC Escher, quote, courtesy of Gogolitis. Nobody is entitled to anything. Artists aren't always loyal to collectors that have supported them when new money enters the space. Artists aren't always loyal to collectors that have supported them. Right. Okay. So they can't expect collectors to be loyal to them just because they stuck around. Earn success through your craft, not your presence. And I actually totally agree with this. There is a sense out there in the crypto world that doesn't, I'd say, exist in the trad art world, that because you've been around, therefore your work is more important. It's actually, I would argue, the exact opposite in the contemporary art world. The longer you're around, if you haven't done, if you haven't made waves and you've been around for 10 years, that's not a good thing, right? So I think at the end of the day, we're lucky we have a free market here. I'd say it's freer than most, and we're going to have another tab that kind of discusses the market and what's happening here. But I think it's freer than the trad art scene. I think it's more open. I think it's more possible for things to happen here. Anybody can mint on Tezos and, start making waves within a week if your work is kind of head turning, right? So kind of agree. Shash, entrepreneurs who worked during the bear market on art, organized things, and survived will win big. Some artists who did, I've included in the thread below. Share what you did besides art the last couple of years. So it's an interesting question here. Entrepreneurs who worked during the bear market, I think there's something to be said for this. All these names that we've gotten to know over the last 3 years, and they continue working. Put it this way. It's something I've long said here, that prolificness equals credibility to a certain degree. Not always, but to paint with a broad brush, if you're around and you keep releasing and keep releasing and keep releasing, that builds credibility. So all of a sudden, if we get a massive bull market here, which seems weirdly possible, I'm almost frightened of what that could mean, in terms of, because I've just assumed, in a weird way, I just assume it's going to be like this forever. But that's not what's going to happen. It's probably the more likely scenario is actually the scene kind of actually becomes bigger, I suspect, especially with Bitcoin going up. There is only one Tezos blockchain. And again, I'm multi-chain here. I love all blockchains. I've worked on Ethereum. I've worked Solana. I just put a work up. Bitcoin, I love it. So, but you do wonder, what could happen here? Anyway, let's continue. This is interesting. Purple Hat. One of the biggest problems I have with many of the Easts on this website is they never took the digital art movement happening on Ethereum seriously. Vitalik not having a meaningful on-chain art collection is somewhat embarrassing for a chain where that has been one of the clearest use cases. And I have to agree. I mean, what this illustrates to me, it's a unholy marriage in a sense right now, I'd say, between the artists and the tech people, for lack of a better term. Not because some tech people are artists and some artists are tech people. And I'd actually argue most artists who are digital actually have a little bit of tech, because you need tech in order to do your art. But there is, I think, oftentimes a lot of the programmers cannot really have an idea of and that's okay. And it's not a judgment, but just a statement of fact. If they haven't taken any art classes or art history, which is sometimes, the case, then where's the interest, right? Then maybe you're more into PFPs, right? And so I actually kind of agree with this, though. Why doesn't Vitalik have an art collection? And probably it's just a symptom of this divide, in a sense. There is some overlap, but it's mostly artists, I'd argue, with a little bit of tech. Sometimes you get programmers with tech, but often you'll get programmers with no art background. So I think just something, because as Purple Hat says, this is one of the most clearest use cases for crypto, has been digital art, the buying and selling of digital objects. So very interesting. Let's continue. Sonso. So referring to this tweet by ArtGnome. I bought the first X-Copy NFT, the first super rare NFT, and launched the entire Lost Robbie's market, all for less than $500. Ask me anything. Why did you do it? Because the old Art World system was so bad, anything would be better. But then we replicated it. So I think ArtGnome is referring more to what I loosely, for lack of a better term, call the mainstream kind of digital NFT art scene, so to speak. I don't even like the word NFT anymore. I think NFT, it just sounds like 2021. I call them digital objects and digital art. And so I think this is partially true, but I don't think that's what we've done over here. I don't think that's what's happening on Tezos, for example. I don't think that's universally true. I think really what's going on, again, I'm kind of back to Tezos, but we also see with what happened on Zora, with all the artists coming on, wherever there's like an open playing field where artists get compensated for their work, you're seeing artists from all around the world. You are seeing, I'd argue, an art revolution. It's just like there are different areas here, it seems to me, within this larger ecosystem of digital art on the blockchain, I suspect. So I don't think this is universally true, what's being said here. But then we replicated it, I think, maybe in certain areas. So Sanzo makes the comment on the comments. This makes me sad to think about. But then I remember that we still have thriving, very weird spaces like on Tezos. Or what is happening with blockchain contract-based art, where strange things can percolate but still have access to a worldwide market, and that makes me feel better. Indeed. So in a sense, saying a similar thing here. This is not universally true. And I think what's going on, the art speaks for itself. As we saw with Waffle's work, as you saw last episode, Masterpiece Theater, as we're going to see here once again. Continuing on, RJ, Sunday question. Do we have, I guess, what would be called agents here in Web3? Like people who might take the output of an artist and manage how it might be released, platforms, pricing, maybe some social media, etc., for a percentage of the cut. I can think of some who I think would be very good at this. It's an interesting question. Put it this way. My sense is I would argue that's a form of bureaucracy. And maybe that's unfair. But I think the more people you get involved in the distribution of, or in this scene, in the market of digital art, the more expensive it's all going to be, the more unfair it's probably going to start to be. And I could be totally wrong, and maybe this is a necessary step. But just thinking out loud, put it this way. I think the logic of digital art with social media is actually that the artists themselves are their greatest representative, and that ultimately is who the collectors and the fan base, or however you want to put it, the people who are observing, that's who they want to hear from. They don't want to hear from the agent. And what is, and then let's say you're a gallery and then you're dealing with some agent and you want to deal with the artist, right? So I would argue, especially with AI, do we need an agent? Like, that's my question. And maybe we do. Maybe I need an agent. Maybe, or, so who knows? But it's, I'm not sure. I'm not sure we do need that, though. Tornado Rodriguez, I've already said it several times, and I'll say it 1,000 times more. Object is by far the best marketplace. It's hard to disagree with that, in a sense, in terms of the marketplace that I keep buying and selling from. It's hard to disagree with. Now, Subject. For those that don't know, Michael Micasso and we don't have... I wish I could remember the other person's name here. Maybe it's listed. There's a programmer who's also pairing up with Subject here. But first, so Subject, it's basically, we've had a kind of a long time issue now, maybe let's call it 8 months, with the notifications on Object being kind of, I would call it glitchy. And I love Object's website. I think they're doing a brilliant job, all the designers and everything, but it has been glitchy. Well, now we have the greatest notification tool ever, which is from Subject, courtesy of Michael Micasso and their partner on this project, who I'll find on a future episode here. I'm sure they'll come up again. I will bookmark it. But look at how great this looks. So this is your new version of notifications. And I tell you, it's awesome. Like as far as me putting the show together, I load this up on, I still haven't connected my main account. And I probably need to do other things just from a security perspective. I'm not eager to connect to anything, but I've done it with secondary accounts and I'm totally impressed. So subject XYZ. Also Michael Micasso, doing a little, check this out, showing pixel art so this is using Aseprite. And we see here Michael Micasso, it's quite awesome actually. First does in blue the underdrawing, just to create some guidelines. And, does the traditional kind of boxing in. You see that? That's how you do, like, if you go to a barge, I think they call it, a barge, doing 19th century academic style drawing, that's what you do. You box stuff in first. And then you kind of add the details just to get the ratios. And so, very cool 10-minute video from Michael Micasso. And what we see here as well, and here, you'll actually see, like, how manual actually a lot of these pixels are. Surprisingly. So as you go here, right, so that not so manual, but watch this, starts adding just little pixel by pixel here. I think look at that. So anyway, just pretty cool as you see. And again, doing it side by side, right? Which is, so to also give it some life and not just make it feel like a trace drawing, right? So not a bad technique here at all. From Michael Micasso. There's also from michaelmec.txt, I'm launching a generative project on Etherlink this Thursday. So I have no idea what this is, but this looks awesome. So putting out a ton of things here, Michael Micasso. This, Kareem Safa and Kristen Roos put out a music video. And because of copyright, I don't want to play super amounts, but I just want to play a little snippet here. Pretty cool. So Kristen Roos-Bach, so a video by Kareem Safa. Pretty rad team up there. Neo Stop Mode back home. I'm going to miss the forest and creating with my friends. And here's an original Takashoshi. So again, pixel art made physical. See you next time, Bosque Gracia's family. Very interesting and cool. Speaking of which, Hermipe. Look at this. We have a huge breakthrough here, at least some shared philosophy from Hermipe pixel art. Multiple resolutions mixed in a single screen, mainly using the Mixel method. The Mixel method. Activities and work creation. So I was commenting on this, how we have different sized pixels rather than kind of your typical pixel art, which is kind of a universal size, and then you start doing your, illustrating whatever you're going to illustrate based on that universal size. Here, multiple resolutions mixed in a single screen is being highlighted, mainly using the Mixel method. And part of the joy of Hermipe's works, this is part of a solo exhibition, I believe in Japan. Is there anything else here? This exhibition, let's just see. There's also nostalgia. Hermipe is an artist known for his meticulous and unique writing style where novelty and nostalgia coexist with pixel art as his main focus. There is something else. This exhibition will present works focusing on risographs and woodblock prints. So again, traveling through the mediums, very powerful, especially in woodblock printing. We use finely separated prints, combining them like collages or daringly adding a slip, trying to create new expressions in an approach beyond the traditional framework of printmaking works, which are inherently replicates. So super interesting, and exhibiting since 2016. And it's worked with all sorts of Adidas and all sorts of people. Here's some more. Look at this. So here, this is Hermipe. I'm pretty sure it is. And do you see what's going on here? Can you see this? This is a surveillance camera done, I believe, with woodblock, which gives us this wonderful texture here. And you have to even just like the composition of this. This is a stunning work here by Hermipe. Let's just continue. And so, yeah, I mean, and look at even the signature, the 1 of 6, how beautifully done it is. This is awesome. Totally awesome. Here's another one where you see 2 colors. Not sure. This is posted by someone else. I'm not sure if this is a screen print or what. But more interesting work from Hermipe. Here's another one, Swing By, solo exhibition. And so this looks digital, if I had to guess, cactus buds. But you see the mixel style, right? The mixel method. You see the tiny pixels, you see the big pixels, right? And what do you get? You get contrast. And here you see the different lines here, the different kind of patterning. Powerful. Here's another work by Hermipe, A Big Crab. And you see all of the different ways, Red Crab Murder Mystery. It kind of looks like the cover of a book, doesn't it? Book cover. It is. Book cover, book design. So very interesting. And here, one more time, pushing things here. So I don't know. Let's see if we can make this larger. What do you notice here? Can you see this? Let's see how big we can make this. What do you see here? I see, that's not pixelation, right? This is like printing dots that you'd find, like the Ben-Day dots that you'd find in a comic book, right? But then here we have these hard edges, but it's more with like the, getting the grays, but done. So combining pixel art with the printing, right? Again, traveling through the mediums. And what it does is it brings to life pixel art in a whole other way, in a physical format, rather than just hitting print, which sometimes is legit. Okay? But quite interesting here. And finally, Element Lee. What on earth is Element Lee doing here? It looks very interesting. You know what it kind of reminds me of? Was the artist we were looking at just recently who does all the printed works and took the Apple ad and then we'll put a work on top, whose name I always forget. Famous contemporary art person. It's just on the tip of my tongue here, but kind of reminds me of feeding in kind of found pieces of paper into the printer and then printing out stuff. And what is this? This looks like an Element Lee work, doesn't it? It looks like an Element Lee pixel art work and then maybe done with ASCII, but printed ASCII. Again, traveling through the mediums. And finally, I'm not sure if we looked at this or not. As you can see, Uxine with what looks like, and we may have looked at this before, I'm not sure, but a homemade screen print, I'm pretty sure, which is a feature. Getting all these drips and all these imperfections and everything, there's a physical Uxine. So beautiful work from Uxine. As we dive into the works here, 52 minutes in, here is, guess who? It is Yuri J. 2 Gastos, 100 people. This is on Verse, so series exhibition, I think, put together by Artie Hands of Yuri J's work. Starting bid, $111. I think it starts today, November 25th. That is today, at 7 p.m. And so here is your preview of this auction here. And there's the paper airplane again. I love that image. And here, more kitchen work. So cooking and a different kind of fill here. I've never seen this patterning that I can recollect. So keeping it new and keeping it super textured. And again, these are looking like paintings, aren't they? They're looking like full-on digital paintings. And so these all start at only 0.03 ETH at the auction. That is what they start at. And here is another one. And you see the fridge. So more interiors here. Interesting perspective. That's my big question with Yuri J's work is where are these compositions coming from? Are they from, Yuri J's head? I mean, they're pretty impressive. They're unique. I mean, it really adds, not only does Yuri J have a very interesting process, filters on filters and taking, again, as I always say here, the mosaic filter, the unusable mosaic filter and making it like a signature. Amazingly. Not only has these great textures, has this original, you see the wall here where you don't even see like where the wall ends. It just continues with the patterning across. not only do you have that, but you have pretty interesting compositions here, even down to the window, and then you see outside. Quite interesting. Here's another one, In Search of Clean Dishes. And here, let's see, and I think this is full size, but we can zoom in a little bit here. And so here you see a stove and everything. So another interesting, kind of like, a free-handed version of a kitchen, as you can see here, not worrying about making this perfect perspective. If anything, it's embracing just the free-handedness. Similar to what we saw with Michael Micasso. Let's not worry. If you make it too perfect, it starts to look kind of boring. This is not perfect, and that is the charm here. So another kitchen. So Radworks here from Yuri J. Now here's Room for Artists. And this is an edition of 40 for 10 Tezos. I picked up one of these works here, and this is pretty funny. Almost looks like I think it's referring to maybe a tweet about this, shared contract and everything. So here just looks like a bed, and almost looking photographic over here, isn't it? It almost looks like photography has been inserted in here, interestingly. So another interesting piece. This is from Yuri JJJ, the second Yuri J account. That is 10 Tezos, still available. Here's Gozo, A Sweet Lie. So another super interesting work here. As you see, the gorgeous textures here, kind of pixelated. Again, digital collage, kind of a surreal feel to it, as you can see here, and great color as usual, and those stable diffusion textures, I think, just to cap it all off. Beautiful, beautiful work. Would love to see this printed. Like, weirdly. I mean, one of the many ways you could do this, but this one, because it's so textured in the work itself, you could probably just do inkjet on a really fabulous paper. And it would probably look really good if you use like archival inks and this sort of thing. It would probably look really good, and then you frame it here on the wall of an Airbnb. Dance While You Can, Ed Marola. So interesting work here. Almost a bit of a photographic feel, but I don't think so. At least in the background here, as you look at the cliffs, what looks like cliffs, and a couple of dancers who are kind of, as you see, kind of got some, not rasterization, but kind of just like some digital textures. So what is the word I am looking for here? Words fail today, but as you see here, a couple of outlines, a couple of figures here in an interesting, almost organic looking background here. It almost looks photographic. Dance While You Can, edition of 21, 10 Tezos each by Ed Marola. Here's another one, and I think this is for the Art for Artists collective drop to dream of art at the mouth of a cave. And as you see here, so an interesting kind of almost like a nativity scene to a certain degree, but maybe not. Maybe something completely different. So interesting cave here, and all sorts of different processes and techniques being used here. As you see this almost texture that's being moved through the works, and then this beautiful frame. Love the color and design of the frame. 251 editions for 1 Tezos each, and 205 left. And here's one more, Pipi Umutogandi, and this is an edition of 25 for 10 Tezos. Interesting piece here, more interesting pixel art from Ed Marola. And here's Greg Nikshumika, Never Waste a Good Fall. And so kind of a cool, almost like could hang in a Ed Marola show or in the same room here. Kind of seems to have a sampled brush maybe, and looking like a nature work of some fall trees in autumn is what it looks like. Edition of 10 and sold out at $250 or three Tezos. And here's Kudukola with an interesting work, and again could kind of hang in that Ed Marola show I was just describing. Look at the carpet. Love the carpet. And then someone had a computer here. Again, kind of freehand, right? Freehand digital drawing. Combined with some, stretching things here, and then it has a little bit of kind of patterning. So you're getting this interesting contrast. Maybe that's what we delight in a Yuri J, as you see here, which is the freehand, as well as Ed Marola, which is freehandedness. so to speak. I'm not going to worry about getting this computer perfect. I'm just going to draw it freehand. But then that is contrasting with geometric precision of this patterning, or this line being stretched perfectly, or this line being stretched perfectly, or the repetition of this kind of sampled brush, but then making it kind of chaotic. We're kind of back to Escher, right? We're seeing some order, some chaos, and these mixing well together to create a pretty cool result. Another interesting piece, I believe Cedar Plank, his Dribble Waffle, retweeted, I think, both these works out. Play with My Heart. Interesting piece. Kudukola. Very experimental work here. So just interesting art here on the blockchain. Play with My Heart, edition of 1 for 10 Tezos by Kudukola. Here is Sols, and a new one, Ingenuo, edition of 2. And pretty wild kind of, I'd say, not quite abstract, but I'd say experimental digital artist, as you see here. You see what looks like a horse with a flower in their mouth and all sorts of kind of almost like noise-like texture here. Pretty interesting piece, nice gradients, working with a frame, different size on top than at the bottom. Wild work here, 10 Tezos, edition of 2. Here's Bidala, Early Winter, and indeed it is in Canada here. So nice textures here, and kind of classic kind of Bidala-like lines here, line work. Recognizably so. Edition of 15 and sold out at 3 Tezos. Nice work. Continuing on, here is Louis JPD, Bespoke. And so interesting kind of combination of illustration and what else? I mean, how was this made is sort of what I wonder to myself. Is this a brush? Is this generative art? What is this? Is this, a drawing that has been put into some sort of kind of filter of sorts, and then this is the result? Who knows? Pretty interesting piece from Louis JPD. Great color there, too. Here is Enigmatris, our ASCII artist here, and this looks like flowers and butterflies. We're seeing a ton of butterflies. I'm not sure why. And so as you see here, we have outlines, we have visual ASCII, we have texture, we have everything. And interestingly, monochromatic, kind of grays and blacks and whites. Interesting piece. Almost always keeping it new. And interesting work here. Such a creative artist, Enigmatris. ASCII Explorations number 2. And is this I guess maybe that is, so this is the show. I see. So here are all the works now, posted by Enigmatris on Super Rare. So actually posting quite a few. I wonder if they're all sold. 10 artworks, total sales. So no sales so far. But let's see what happens. So interesting. I thought that was a work unto itself. And maybe it is here, interestingly. Nice cover photo on Super Rare there. Let's continue. Walk with a work called Blood. And it kind of looks familiar here. Almost looks like some sort of architectural structure. I want to say England, but I have no idea. Anyway, interesting piece, interesting title. Edition of 2, or open edition, 5 Tezos each, 4 more hours to go. Here is Michi Asu, souvenir photo number 196. So Michi Asu putting out a ton of work, and here's just a sample of this kind of wild, more experimental digital art here. And, if you saw this once, and then there's only one work, you might go, okay, not sure what to make of that. But if you go to Michi Asu's page, you'll see so much work. So this builds credibility, right? Because clearly Michi Asu is exploring something here. And so pretty interesting artist. I mean, this is great. I was like, did I get that one? I wish I'd got that one. So it's super interesting. I mean, that's back in September 1st. You see how much work is coming out, which also builds credibility. Kazuhiro Ehara, stack your true eyeballs, not be fooled by the old games. So here, edition of 11, 23 Tezos. Look at this. What on earth is going on here? Right? Is it physical? Is it digital? Is it AI? Is it everything? Is it none of the above? Wild, kind of almost like a diagonal canvas here. Very painterly. Pretty cool work. Not even sure what's going on here. Remember the cloud that we started with on this show maybe 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago? Same artist, right? So let me just bring that up here. There's the cloud, that brilliant cloud. What an interesting artist, right? Here's another work that we missed. Dr. All-Time High Never Fails. Look at this. Kind of has the same feeling. It's almost like elements have been replaced in the cloud. Very interesting. So, super interesting. Artist, let's continue. Time, aka Santiago, with a cool, colored, almost negative, looks like an inverted version of one of these abstracts. Very nice piece here from Santiago. And there is the pump in the background there. Zebe Stereo is the account. I'm pretty sure we've looked at their work before on Tezos, and here it is on Instagram. Kind of small here, but here just very interesting digital painting here. Again, you see, and yeah, here are some of the examples of previous works. Like, again, you see the true experimentation, the true artistry of art on the blockchain. Like, it's not all easy, right? So pretty cool work. Here's RJ Anomaly. Cool work here, almost looking like two figures, not sure. And big, chunky purple background here. Great color on this one. Great textures and everything, and quite abstract almost within these bodies here. As you see the foot there, nice piece. And here's some interesting abstracts here from RJ. So here is one work, almost like these color field paintings. Here is another one, pixel fields. Yeah, like color fields, right? It reminds you of almost like what Rothko's doing here to a certain degree. Everything and nothing. Different kind of texture or size of pixels. So interesting abstracts from RJ. Here's Wozo. Wild work. Let me maximize this. If you stare into the butterfly, like novel digital experience here. I think I almost hit stop recording there. That would have been catastrophic. So, Astral Travel, that is by Zozo. 15 Tezos, still available. Edition of 15, and they're moving. And Yuri J just picked one up, 9 gone. Here's a really cool work, which was part of the Art for Artists drop, and this is an edition of 88 by Sabato. Sensational colors here and great concept, just fish and loaves of bread. Almost biblical in subject matter here. And I have to say the colors are stunning. The pink and the blue, and then these big kind of yellow-orange pieces of bread, just repeated. The fish repeated, so digital. And then this great little gradient in the background to add just a little bit of complexity in the background. Totally awesome. Picked one up, 8 Tezos. This is great too. So might be hard to see. Let's see if we can make this bigger. Nice. Okay, so here is Sophie Agura. Let me just make sure I have her name right. Sophie Agore, if I can pronounce that right. Check this out. So this is interactive. So I press with, I think it should be. Maybe, there we go. Look at that. So pretty original. I've been collecting a ton of Sophie's work recently because there's something very unique about it, and just kind of unapologetically her own, very defined style. Has been minting for a long time. So anyway, super duper interesting work. Made Days, interesting title, edition of 8, and I think that's sold out actually. One's available on secondary for 15, so nice work. François Gamma. This is on Instagram. I'm not sure if this has been minted somewhere, but pretty rad. As you see here, it kind of looks like a face, but done with this whatever. It almost looks like who knows what kind of processing has been done here. But again, when I describe us, kind of scratching the surface of digital art, you think of François Gamma and the million iterations. One of the things I love about François Gamma is how they mint everything, as far as I know, or almost everything. Like, it's awesome. This was cool too. I'm not sure if this is new or old. Let There Be Bits. And there is Michelangelo's not Last Judgment, Sistine Chapel, the creation of Adam. The hand here, the touch, and there's zeros and ones coming out of it. If you can see that. Totally awesome. By Gogolitis. Here's another work, Aurora of Fire by Gogolitis, and that looks sold. Oh no, accepting offers. Nice offers coming in here. 20 Tezos. I mean, that's $26. So artists doing very well here on Tezos. Nice kind of sunrise here. Aurora of Fire. This was, I think, retweeted by Gogolitis maybe about a week ago. Very cool artist here. Who is the artist? Hopefully this doesn't make everything disappear. And I think, okay, Gelatin. Very cool work here, kind of pixel art. Almost like a poster, but still kind of arty. Very interesting work. Here is Buju Bunoing, and this is on sealed.art. And so more interesting pixel art. There's a Rubik's Cube, kind of chaotic in a good way. Crisis of the Bubblegum is the name of the work. And here is, I think, Pinky Blue is the name. As you see here, and let me actually just do this. Pinky Blue. And so here's the large version. So this is an on-chain NFT on Tezos. And as I think maybe Tornado was saying, let me see if we have the original post. Welcome to the insanely wonderful Pixel Master Pinky Blue to this crazy on-chain world. So it's on-chain. And there is the work, this tiny work here. Again, the delight in these tiny works that can be expanded infinitely. Size 12 kilobytes, done using Asebrite. So quite a complex, 281 by 280. Quite a complex image here. And so interesting. I think when you use black, it saves kilobytes. So I think that's because usually this size would be about 6 kilobytes or 7. But I think because there's no black, because I think black is just no color, I suspect. So interesting. Cool work here. I went for 52 Tezos. So on-chain really does get people's attention. Here's Element Lee. Juxtaposition as an aesthetical or research method. Very cool. Very cool notes here. Exactly. There's a lot to be said for this. Juxtaposition as an aesthetical or research method. Very well done. I want to put out the clap emoji for Element Lee here. Juxtaposition with meaning, juxtaposition just for novelty. Super interesting, 256 by 256. Interesting research from Element Lee. Here's another work, Amphora, 256 by 300 pixels. It almost looks like a little bit of an octopus there. So interesting piece. Another on-chain work, The Sting. And let's see if I can make this larger. This is by Kyle Flemmer, introducing text here as well, as you see. So maybe the Scorpius. I love how it's all here. Even the title is in this work here, this on-chain work. I did that with the Pixel Art Inferno. I put the title of the thing so that you don't need anything else, because maybe this metadata, who knows? It's kind of nice to just have everything all-inclusive. And look at how great it looks. This tiling that we're seeing in video games now being applied to create art. Microcosmos series. This is for 50 Tezos at auction. Here's just a work posted by Cap'n. And I'm not sure if I've ever seen this one before, but a beautiful, like, still pixel art work from Cap'n, and almost looks like a rock or a person here. Great color, and even the stars, super interesting. Here's Gio Mariani, a couple of works posted on X, and getting a nice reception here. So I think these might be older, but I'm not sure. So just wanted to show in case they're new, and if they're not, well, they're still pretty darn interesting to look at here. So a very pioneering kind of pixel artist on Tezos. Influenced a lot of people like Ed Marola early on in 2021. Here is Star Angel by 2002, and this is on Zora. And so more interesting experimental pixel art here. I guess it's kind of an abstract, but maybe, hard to say what's going on here. Kind of minimal colors here. Star Angel 64, interesting piece. 128 minted. That's pretty good. eBoy Arts for Google Play at G-Star 2024 agency. So eBoy The duo, I think, out of Germany. Again, pioneering pixel artists from, like, I think early 2000s, if I'm not mistaken. Here, I guess pretty well known as pioneering pixel artists as well. So here, a cool work that they got commissioned for Google Play. So pixel art, continuing to kind of seep into the collective consciousness here. Here's Stippen Pixel, Ethereal Echoes. So a few works here, as you see. I almost want to call them primitives of digital art. You know, there's these categories, like there's glitch, there's pixel art, and we got a few here by Stippen Pixel, right? And yeah, it's just kind of interesting. Let's continue. Stippen Pixel, Nebula Nook, as we finish up here. So similar color scheme, kind of a haunted cloud over top of this pixel art house in the winter, and slightly different color scheme here, Glimmer Glade. And here, again, kind of a sci-fi situation. And this house that's growing. So kind of interesting pieces here. Edition of 1, that went to mech.txt for 50 Tezos. Offer. Here is Kyle Flemmer again, Hello Kitty. Interesting piece here. And I think we've seen other works, I believe, from Kyle Flemmer in this series, where he just takes a stamp, so to speak, and then uses it to the point of making an abstract out of it. I think this is super interesting. Just nice and simple. And that's the beauty of it, is the simplicity, and it gets quite complex within the image itself. Edition of 10 for 350. Super interesting work. And here is SGAM. I think Gogolitis retweeted this one. Let's see if we can make it bigger. So again, kind of pixel art meets video games as a GIF. GM pixel art. So very cool. Let's see how it did. 13, pretty good reception here, isn't it? So the people loving it. Morphogenetic Grid, this by Figments, also known as Cap'n. So a new work here. So kind of a more complex one, a bit more of a maximal work by Cap'n. Cool title here. Again, that's under Figments. And then here is Brain Dead, who, as you see here, the cards, playing with trading cards, but maybe replacing the spades with the skull or the heart with the skull. Pretty cool. You could probably actually make physicals of these at this point and just order them yourself. Or like Brain Dead can make their own series, is what I'm trying to say. This is not a test, Brain Dead. So cool kind of illustration. So coming out of I think it was October or November, where there's a pixel artwork every day. Continuing with that trademark kind of colorful gray, 0.03 ETH. Here's Pamelo Chirone. Just a nice, simple work. Pixel art, bit of texture, and this person kind of sideways here. You see the fun and the energy and the color of Pamelo Chirone's work. Here's Our Milk. Love this work. It had kind of an interesting feeling where it's almost using an operating system, again, to create a landscape. As you see, almost the Windows 98 in the background, the sky, as well as operating system elements that are being kind of used to create, again, like an urban streetscape here. And I love the graffiti. It's kind of the nice finishing touch. And even down here, it almost looks like a magic wand type situation here. Super interesting work from Our Milk. Not sure if this has been minted anywhere. There's no info there. And here's another super interesting work by Our Milk, again using Windows operating system elements to create a chopper. And very cool animation here. And also Elna Frederick. Let's go here. And what is this? Chandek 56. And kind of looks like an open window and a remote control on a table. Very cool there. Here's Nicholas Sassoon. Good morning. And just a cool, seemingly abstract work, but not entirely sure. These diamonds kind of moving across. Go to Nicholas Sassoon's website if you want to see these things in kind of full blast. They're quite spectacular. Here's Sunrise by Gino as we wrap up the show here. So it looks like combining a few different ways of processing things. Kind of looks like some pixel art, kind of looks like some analog video glitch, as you see here. Quite a few different effects. 256 colors, edition of 10, and sold out at 5 Tezos, I believe. And here's another one. This is by LB Shooting Star. So cool work here, and this is an edition of 10 for 5 Tezos. And here is Primordial Coast by Ex Mortal. That is an edition of 7 and selling, and that is 15 Tezos, and it sold for. So a lower edition, now 77 Tezos on secondary. So another cool kind of landscape from Ex Mortal. And here's another one, a fragment here. I don't know if this was posted anywhere. Very cool fragment. Beautifully done by Ex Mortal. Here is LB again, Karaoke Dreams, and an interesting kind of almost using Windows iconography with a window in the background, or a dolphin in the background. Cool work there. As we go into AI with Skamra, Girl at Boy Beach. And so beautiful textures here from Skamra with this AI kind of digital painting. A glade called Stable Diffusion. So more fascinating textures here. It kind of looks like a farmer's field beside a tilled farmer's field beside a forest, maybe. Beautiful. Novel. Another internet artist work. This is an edition of 30. And a little bit of animation here, interestingly, within the painting, as well as in the background up here as well. And look at these textures over here. I mean, pretty spectacular. Like new visual experiences here. The Birth of Venus. Once again, AI artwork from Skamra. And I think this is full. Is this full? Here we go. And almost looking like you see Photoshop on the right there. Interesting animation as well. Hovering through this piece. And here, alternate timeline. Interesting, probably AI composition, but not positive. And look at these kind of edges here. These textures. So super fascinating work from Skamra. That's 5 Tezos, edition of 10. Here's Time, also known as Santiago, Best Weekend Ever number 3. I think we saw Best Weekend Ever number 4 the other day. As you see, another massive file here. Interesting piece. And here, Making Crypto Art. This one was awesome. This came out November 10th, and this is sold out, also by Time. And so pretty hilarious. A little bit of humor here, too. And Making Crypto Art here. And look at these, this kind of brushwork or this pen marks, these textures again in this work. Again, AI artwork. Pretty sure raw AI. Here's Lily Illo, More Time in the Garden, another AI artwork. These people in suits here all joined together. Speaking of which, I need to run out of here. White Solitude with a work. And here, more AI digital painting. Look at how convincing this looks and how just impressive it all looks. This is an edition of 1, November 20th, available for 50 Tezos, AI artwork. And William Burroughs by Mikey Wilson, Junkie. So interesting to see AI's take. It almost looks like the cover, like a loose, you can almost see Literary Outlaw, I think was the cover. Should we look really quickly? Literary, this is a pretty good, I don't really read biographies anymore because I find they're too, oh no. Let me see, I added maybe a different version. Oh no, this was Literary Outlaw. I'm thinking of a different Burroughs biography. This is a famous one by Ted Morgan. But I find them too, these biographies are so romanticized in general. Whoever it is, the figures become larger than life. I don't really like reading them anymore. I just find them unrealistic, maybe. Let's continue. Martin, just the way everything's portrayed, it's funny. It's not my favorite thing. Martin Joe, GM Little Bears. Nice GM Bears with Martin with a bit of a space theme on this one. Pink spacesuit on the bear, drinking coffee. Love it. And here's Human Boy, Fall. Part of it and a few other works kind of in this series. So almost looking like a photograph that has been processed with AI and a lot of movement here. Edition of 5, and that is for 10 Tezos on Object. And here's No Hygiene with another wild work here. I don't know if we looked at this one, but if we did, here it is again. The meat and the girl crying. I don't see an angel though. So more wild work, AI artwork. Here's a beautiful work by Tukes. Here, different color scheme, pretty cool. Again, just endless novelty out here in the good sense. Ken Zapata, look at this. So, kind of a landscape here, I think AI. We'll ask Ken Zapata about that. Here's Violet Tripp, I think AI. You know, a computer in this kind of beautiful, kind of natural landscape, this pink computer, almost looking like a 1980s computer. As we go into physical, in the final minutes here, Bondoso Bandito, John Cage, and a new page. So there's John Cage playing the piano, I guess. Very cool work here. Smaller artwork from Bondoso Bandido. Not available. Interesting. Probably already sold. It's Not Gallery posting Martin Lukash. Cool LA Dodgers logo on this figure here. And beautifully painted. So simple. So simple, so interesting. Here is Walk. Newsletter. Subscribe now. Capturing the zeitgeist as ever. Here's Martin Bruce, 100 by 70 centimeters, oil on canvas. And let's make this larger. Interesting work as ever. From visual, the guy who thinks, he thinks with his eyes, as I like to say, of Martin Bruce. And there's a little cat, just another wild oil on, I think, canvas that was. Look at this Spider-Man. It's Not Gallery again, tribal curtains. It's Not Gallery. I mean, this is such an inventive piece. Just to do Spider-Man's costume like this is super interesting. And then there's all the other imagery, the wings and the guns, wild work. Craig Barak, The View, oil on linen. Kind of has a bit of a Moto Hero feel to it, doesn't it? Just a tiny bit. Very nice painting here. And here is Jesse Makinson with a drawing. Let's make this a little smaller. And so let's do this. Beautiful drawing here. And this is, again, Jesse Makinson. Here's another one. This is in Milan through January 25th. So this artist doing very, very well. As you can see, kind of this new surreal kind of art that you're seeing, kind of new wave of surrealism. Here's another work, this Lava Baby I think Lava Baby maybe is the artist. And as you see here, again, just like this statuesque woman, about to ski down the stairs. So again, more just kind of this neo-surrealism, I want to call it. Michael Pyblas, Black Mirror, Kate Perry, so doing a tweet as a subject for a painting. Super interesting. And here's Atelier Adrian P. Gabriel O. Platine, gouache on paper. Again, very modern looking with the headphones, and there may be DJing hilariously. A pretty nice modern contemporary artwork, isn't it? Here is Ochiai Shohei, whose work we looked at, started the show with about a month ago. And look at this jacket. So super interesting piece here. And here are the different, and there is a jacket kind of similar in spirit. Super cool work from Ochiai Shohei. And here's Night Gallery with a cool work by Bamboo Gilly at Art Basel, Miami Beach. Interesting colors here. Super interesting artwork. Kind of looks like oil on canvas, if I had to guess. Oil on linen, 60 by 84, so quite large. 60 inches by 84 inches. Jerry Meyer, Sheep Love, so playing with JPEGization, JPEG artifacts, and then making them physical, right? Super interesting there. Here's more work by them. So quite powerful take on pixelation and increasing the size of pixelated works. Mark Belden, Lawn Chair. This is fabulous. This is gouache on St. Armand paper. So sold as part of Artist Support Pledge. And here's my friend Ben. I'm not sure if we looked at this one, this beautiful version of Van Gogh's Room. Just awesome. I think we might have looked at this, but let's look at it again. Beautiful work here. I think that's spray paint in the back of the wall. Part of BAM Berlin until Sunday. So I think that just passed. And Moto Hero putting some works together in the notebook here. Putting some pages together, as you see this train here, full of people, this human train. Just more fascinating artwork from this super inventive artist. And here's Walk again, with the Walk figure, let's say. And there's the Walk currency at $13,000. Hilarious. And Make War Not Art, so more satire, one assumes, from Walk here. So again, just kind of on the zeitgeist there. Capturing the zeitgeist. Noah Verrier, finally, my oil paintings will be on CBS Sunday morning. Okay, so Noah Verrier doing very, very well. And there's the set. I mean, amazing. And these wonderful kind of contemporary paintings, or paintings of contemporary imagery, but done in like a traditional style. A wonderful contrast here, as you see, with the toasted cheese sandwich. And finally, Ilya Barabin with what looks like a merry-go-round, or I can't remember what you call these. Beautiful drawing here, though, GM 2024. And that is your show, everybody. Thank you for joining me. And thank you for everything. And I hope to post another show in the next few days. Until then, take care.